Hi everyone, welcome to the part 2 of for Python for Reservoir Simulation Engineers. We are discussing the basic programming skills needed for Reservoir Simulation Engineer. So today is the first lecture. We will talk about the basics of programming and we will start learning the very basic steps of Python, uh, Python for Reservoir Simulation Engineers. So first thing we need to discuss that why we start from the basics. Well, basically we have to start from the basics so that we create a very good foundation for you. But some questions, some students usually they ask me questions like why you are doing the 2 plus 2 and the 2 plus or 1 plus 4 in the Python. Well, their answer is that well it looks you can do it in your mind 1 plus 4 multiply by 3 and you can get the answer. But when you go for real work in reservoir engineering or production engineering or drilling engineering, you have a hell lot of calculations that needs to be repeated again and again, and these calculations are not possible using a simple calculator and so on. In that thing we have to develop an algorithm, program that can do the job for us. So we start from the basic, but gradually as you learn for the programming, if you try to continue with us, you will learn that how it is going to help us throughout the process. So now let's look at the first part. We have so many languages. Fortran is still useful and very old, still works very well. And this is a very good language that we use. But in modern one, we use straightforward Python language. It's a very straightforward language and a very nice and powerful tool. And a lot of new things are coming up for this programming thing. So in order to run the Python, we have the software called Spider, which is a package of the Anaconda we are using for our programming skills. So now in this case, first of all, in this window here you can see we have two windows. This is the one window here and one window here. This window is the input. Whatever code you are writing is written here, and whatever uh, when you run this code using this play button here, the output is shown here. So in this case, you can see here, you can open a new file, you can open the previous saved files, you can save, and these are the normal functions that every software has for saving, opening new, and so on. When you run the code, you can compile and run it using this one, which will appear here. This is the Python console that you want. So we start writing the code here, it will appear here. That's the first thing that we have. And now we will start from the basic arithmetic operations, then basic writing operations, then basic. So slowly and gradually we will develop the skills of Python in this lecture. So let's start with our first command, which is as I said, the first basic command that we are going to do here is simple calculator operations. For example, 2 plus 4. Now, if you write 2 plus 4 simple here and you run it, you see that the output, it has run it, but the output is not shown. So the first command that you need to learn is a print command. So if you write the print here, for example, print and write 2 plus 4, 5, let's say, and you run it, here you get the answer 7. Now many students want to reach to the final level of Python just by writing, and they say, well, teacher, it's very simple, and why we are doing it? Well, this is just to develop your foundation to do the operations, to run the operations. So the first two lecture is just to show you how we can do the things. For example, in this thing you learn the command print. Print command gives us the output here. Without it, you cannot get the output. So this is the first one. So now if you plus or if you minus, you get the answer. Here you can see the minus 3. Or if you have, for example, big values, let's say your values are like this, and you want to add them. Even in this thing, your calculator cannot perform such, but you can get the answer in milliseconds here. So this is the first command. So it's likewise, if you want to do the division, you can get the division also at the same time. If you want to do the multiplication, you can, and also it follows all the rules of the mathematics. For example, you have 45 plus 6 multiplied by 5. So the software knows what to do in this case. So you can see first it multiplied it, then it added it as per the rule of, or you can see here also this one. So this is the first command that we learned, and you have to practice the plus minus. Uh, one, and so on. And that is we are going to use in when we will develop the software. You are going to use these operations and so on in the first. And as after that, when I write the code here, you can see what we write it here, and we run the file from here. That's what when we get our answers. Well, there are so many functions that are needed for the calculations. For example, we need sometimes the value of pi, sometimes we need the value of sine theta, cos theta, tan theta, and so on. So in such case, what we do, we have predefined library. So let's say from math import, when we write this one, it import actually all the values of this one. So now if for example now you want to use the value of pi multiply by 44, so you can run it and here you can get the answer for pi. Now if for example if you want to add the sine 90 or multiply sine 45, so you can get this the value at the same. Now you see the sine 45, you get the value of this one. For example, now you just want the value of sine 45, so you can get the value of sine 45 here like this one, which is 0.85. So likewise you can the scientific calculations very easily done. You see now we just using a single command we can run our uh, the basic arithmetic operations, but we are not limited to basic arithmetic operation. You can finish your basic integration, basic derivation, basic you name it. You do the numerical simulation, numerical method, everything, all your mathematics you can apply here very easily, and slowly we will lead to those situations. uh, Now the after the print command and the basic arithmetic operations, we will move ahead and we will know about the variables, another commands of variables. Now as you know that in algebra we have lots of, we have to find the value of x, we have to find the value of y, we have to find the value of z. We have set of linear equations that needs to be solved in many mathematical solutions, and there are many things where the x, y, and things has to be defined. So now we will learn that how we can assign the variables in this Python and how we can run them. Let's look at it how we can define the variables here. For example, here let's x is equal to 5, y is equal 7, and z is equal to 9088. Now you can simply write x plus y plus z, and you can run it. Here you can see you get your answer here 100. Now for example your value is changing from 88 to 98, you see that your answer is changed here. So these variables you can simply define by like this one. You see within less than a second the computer is going to solve for you by using the variables command. In the basic coding, we learn two commands right now. One is the basic print command, and the other command that we learn is a basic arithmetic operations, and the integer, the variable command that we have done here. Now ahead we will combine the print variables, both of them, to develop a very simple program that we can use in Python programming. And so let's look at it how we can do that. Let's look at it how we can do that. For example, now previously we run the value here, x, y, we had x, we have y, and we have z. We just printed x, y, and z. Now we will write some value. The value, now when we write the comment in the print command, we have to use the double semicolon. So let's look at the value of x, y, and z is. So when we finish the semicolon, we have to put the comma, and that's how you can now you see that we whatever we wrote here appear, and this is the result that we got from x, y, and z. That's how. So variables along with the print command with some comment we write it our x, y. Now using this one we are going to develop more simple softwares, and I will show you how we can do that. So we will try the simple conservation of mass equation here. For example, now if we have mass in, which is let's say is 54, uh, mass in is 54 kgs, and if we have mass out which is let's say 23 kgs, how much is remaining inside the storage tank. So you can set up an equation. The As I said, the double this one, this figure is important when you write the comment. So we can write mass accumulated is, so we have to finish the comment, leave a comma, then we can set up our equation mass in minus mass out, and we can again write it in kgs because our result is in kg. So we can, so now it gives us the answer. Mass accumulated is 31. So now, for example, mass in is, let's say, 140.54. So if you write here, it can give you an answer of 131 kg. So now using this one, you can set a basic equation which gives you the basic parameters of so here you can see that we accumulated the mass, we put the mass in, we put the mass, and we simply set up an equation here. And now if you change the parameters here, you get your answer right here initially. So here we combine the variables along with the simple print command, along with simple arithmetic operations, and we obtain our results. Now we will go further, and we will use the input command. So let's say how we can use the input command in the Python. So we were discussing the input command here, and as you can see now, what we can do here, we can write here float, and we can set up the input, and again mass in is equal to, we can write this like this, mass in complete sentence, complete this one, and run it. So now what here you can see, now if you fill the one, you get your answer. Likewise, you can set up a lot of the value of x, y, and z, set up an equation. For example, now we want to solve the simple x input, x is equal float input value of x, and likewise you can do the value of y and z. Here you can do the y and z, and you can write here y and z. Now you can set up an equation. Let's say r is equal x plus y divided by z. You set up the equation. You can write print the value is completed, and r. Here you can set up all. So you actually basically give three variables x, y, and z. You set up your simple mathematical equation, and then it is going to print. Let's say the value of x now is, let's say, 65. Value of y is, let's say, 48. Value of z is, let's say, 2. So now you see value is it solved this calculation here, and you can, and now using this simple variables print and this command and so on, you can simply directly actually solve many reservoir engineering calculations. For example, finding the z factor, formation volume factor. You can set up your material balance, so you can set up lots of drilling calculations, you can set up a lot of, so actually using this simple basic programming, you can set up lots of softwares, so a lot of simple calculations that are needed during the drilling, production, and reservoir engineering. So now we will continue, and let's finish the part here, and we will continue for the next command. Now we will talk about the for loop. For example, now you want to do the calculation for number of times. Let's say you want to do the calculation 500 times, or you want to do the calculation, let's say, 200 times or 300 times. Even if you do the simple calculation, let's say 2 plus 2, and if you had to do it 500 times, it will take a lot of time. So what we do in the Python, we have a command for this. We call it a for loop command, for command. And now we will see that how we can use this command for, and use the command range in the Python. Let's continue and see how we can see the for command here. Let's say for x in range. Now the values you are using here, let's say you have the pressure, and you want to use the value from 1000 to 2000. So your value starts from 1000 psi and the values range in 2000 psi. What you want to do, you want to check the your pressure results every 50 plus psi. So what you do, you set up an equation, print and x plus 50 50. Now using just this simple one, it will give you, you can see you got all the results from starting from 1500, 52, 53, 54. Actually start from 1000 but gives you the value throughout all the process. Let's say the pressure you're talking about for uh, from 1000 to 2000 and you want to do some calculation with every 50 psi increase, so you can set up an equation for x in range. You can write from the 1000 to 2000 and the range you want, let's say 50 psi. So when you write it and after that you write print x, so you see that here it starts from 1000, then 1050, 1100, 1150. These values you can shift them and use them for the calculations ahead in whatever calculations you want to do, and I will show you the sample calculation. Now if for example you want to change this 50 psi to 75 psi, again when you click it you will see that your first value is, it changes the value for you here, 1000, 1075, then 1150. This is the gap is between them the value of 75. Likewise we can use this one for example to further this calculation. Now using this each of the calculation you want to increase the gap between both values 75. Now you want to add 10 with each of the value you do. So what we do, we write print x and then each with each value that it prints we add 10 onto it. So now you can see the original value was 1000, then he added 10, so it is 1010. Second value, because the range we put between the gap between them is 75, so here the value is 75 and then we added 10 which it becomes 85. Likewise if you want to multiply this, let's say by 2, let's say by 2, so it will give you, so what will it will do, you can see that it multiplied 10 to 2 it becomes 20, then it added to x, and then that's how you can use the for loop. This for loop is very useful, as I said, and especially in the when you want to do the calculation for, let's say, 1 million cells, then this for and range and for loop are going to be very helpful for you in the coming uh, lectures. Okay, now we talked about the simple for loop which we use to put lots of values together. Now this for loop can be used uh, in more advanced way. We call it a cumulative loops. Now in this one what it will do, it will solve the first part, then add that value to the second part. Now you will see that how we are going to do that in the software. For example, now our first value sum is equal to 0, and for I in range 1 to 11, what it does, it added some plus it multiplied the value of I to I. Let's say first is 1, then is 2, then is 3, then is 4, then is 5. So here you can see the results. Here you can, if you run this one, you will see that first will show 1. Okay, then second value here is 2, because we didn't define any range. So second value is 2. So 2 multiplied by 2, 4, 4 plus the original value. The previous value was, as I said, it's a cumulative loop. So it takes the value from the previous one. So 1 plus 4 becomes 5. Then now this 5 value is stored in sum. And then here it just become 5 and this become 3. So 3 multiplied by 3 become 9, 9 and 5 14. So here you can see, so what it does is stores the results from the previous one and then it uses in the next one. So that's how we call it a cumulative loop, and it is also used in oil and gas engineering. It is a very useful command that it is that you are going to see in the coming okay, now we will talk about the commands. We have three different commands: if, else, and elif. So now, for example, if somebody says that uh, if there are some conditions coming up in algorithm, so we set up using the if else command. This is the same command, kind of command that you use in many other language software. Let's say the GPA is greater than 3.4. So we set up is this one, GPA is equal 3.4. So now we use the if command here, and you will see how we can use the if command here. If GPA is greater than 2.5, print you will pass. Here again we forgot to put the this one. So now you see the value of GPA is 3.4. We said that if the value of GPA is above 2.5, you will. So it satisfied the condition, and that's how it is now. So now if let's say the GPA value is 2, so you see now you see there are no results. But if you put here 2.5, again it will show no. But if you put 2.6, you immediately see that it shows that you will pass. So now we can use an if and else condition also. So if GPA is 2.5 greater than 2.5, you will pass. If else, if it is less than, print you will fail. Now we set the if and else command. Let's look at how it does. So this is the if and else command now. For example, the value is 2.6. So if you run this one, it will say you will pass. Now if the value you change it to less than 2.4, so now you will see that you will fail. So now it satisfies the condition. If you the value is above 22.5, it shows if it shows you will pass. If not, then you will fail. So conditions, it satisfies the conditions. So that's why this if and else commands are used to satisfy the uh, the if and else conditions here. Well, we will pause here, and then after these commands, we will go further, more in more details of these lectures to learn the Python. So we take a break and then we come back again with another lecture.